All right, welcome everybody to the OHL Draft Show, sponsored here by Neutral Zone. We're going to be walking you through the picks today. We'll start off in the first round with the first overall pick. We've got exceptional status, Michael Misa out of Mississauga Senators. Paul, what are your thoughts on Misa?
Yeah, Misa, he was a talent all year. Real skilled player, can shoot, can score. I'm pretty much every game I saw the Sens about a dozen times, and he scored in every one of them. The OHL Cup, I thought he had a really special finals and semifinals where he took it up a notch. As an underager, to be honest with you, that underage group, that 07 group, there was a lot of debate on who the best one was. He came through in the end in the OHL Cup, but there's a bunch of really, really good 07s that we're going to be looking forward to next year. But Misa was full value for it, and particularly in the OHL Cup, the semis and the finals.
Yeah, Murray, you've seen a bunch of the 07s this year. How does Misa stack up against some of the other studs?
Yeah, Paul makes a great comment on the group of those 07 guys that were all in play for exceptional status. But I think in the end, they made the right choice. If they were only going to move one ahead, he was the guy. And I mean, you wouldn't have to see too much of a game that Misa played in to realize he was a pretty special player, very dynamic, explosive, 2-3 step acceleration and in any direction. And so it was really hard. I found watching him play that to watch anything else, your eyes get drawn to him all the time because he's making things happen consistently. And he's going to have, there's always a transition for any player going to the next level, and he'll go through a bit of a transition, but he'll be an impactful player in the OHL. This coming season. It'll be great to watch him play.
Yeah, there's some special 07s in that Phillips kid out of Markham, the big kid for London Knights.
Rubric.
Yeah. He's talented. Actually, the kid earlier in the OHL Cup, I actually thought Moore was as good as Misa or better. And then as the OHL Cup went on and they got into the playoff rounds, Misa started to really separate. But yeah, there's a lot of talent for next year's draft for sure. Next pick up, we've got Malcolm Spence. I believe he was probably the favorite among the Ontario guys. Crawford, what do you think of Malcolm Spence?
Malcolm Spence, for me, was the number one pick this year, but extenuating circumstances changed things, and they're about 3 months apart in their I think Malcolm is a late birth date, so we'll find out when it gets to the NHL draft, because they're both going to probably make it to the NHL draft and be high picks. And Malcolm is ready to play right now, and Michael Misa will have his struggles at first, and he's a smart kid, he'll adapt. But Malcolm Spence he's ready to play, and he's going to be an impact player next year.
Well, I think he was your favorite guy too with this year's draft, right?
Yeah, 100%. Every game that we went to, every game that I was at, especially the tight games, I like to watch the Senators against the best teams, and he was the catalyst. He was the guy who would get, make a hit, make a good back check. He was prickly to play against too, which you like. You always like that for the young kids because they're going to get tested next year. And he got a lot of big goals late in games, tight situations, and yeah, going into this, we had him at one. As you guys said, there was extenuated circumstances with the exceptional pick, but both these kids they're going to be good players, and our preference was Spence.
Yeah, I only saw him in the OHL Cup, but what impressed me about Spence is that he can make an impact even when he's not scoring goals. He can play a two-way game, like you said. He's got some sandpaper to him. He kills penalties. He does everything. He's the most complete player in the draft. Next up, Nathan Villeneuve, if that's how I pronounce that correctly, out of Navan Grads, the top kid out of the Ottawa area. What'd you think of him, Crawford?
He's a two-way player, and he's probably about the second most ready player. So I think he's right where he was expected to be picked. He actually can dominate on the power play. He can play either on the D as the defensive quarterback, or he can play up front where he usually plays at center. And he just distributes the puck and controls the play. And again, the adjustment that we're all talking about will take place. He'll earn his time, and he'll be a star in the Ontario Hockey League.
Next up, Niagara selects Sam Dickinson out of Toronto Marlboros. Big defenseman. Marlon said at the OHL Cup, and I agreed with him. He said there's some Owen power in this kid's game. I'm not sure if he'll be that. You don't want to project a kid a first overall pick in the NHL draft, but big kid, plays a game, complete game, big, strong, picks pucks off the wall, clean. That's what really impressed me at OHL Cup, was how clean he can get the puck off on a retrieval. Takes one step up and zips the puck. He doesn't have to handle it, doesn't have to mess with it. He's got some physicality to his game too. I just thought he was a really complete overall player. I don't know about you, what you guys thought.
He had some games where Sunday, I remember seeing him a few Sunday nights and in the freezing cold, watching this kid absolutely destroy others physically. He got it. The timing was there for him that night. We all knew that he could handle pucks and distribute pucks, and he's got a pretty good shot from the blue line. But he was catching kids, and really, really impacting the play physically too. If he can do that at the next level, get that timing down, get that footwork down, he'll be good. Like like I said, there were some games where he was very, very dominant two-way. Very impactful.
What I saw at him, just to build on that a bit, Hags, is I thought he made great reads at the offensive blue line, like whether his team had possession or not. If his team had possession, he was alert and aware on how to engage offensively, how to walk the line and make sure pucks were getting through into the scoring area if need be. But on the flip side to that, I thought he did a great job of reading plays coming up the wall above the hash marks, that area from the circle to the blue line, that so much goes on there. And a lot of defensemen just fly down and pinch, hoping to get a puck. He read the play. So there were times he met the puck rolling on the wall, as he said, Brennan, and is able to pull it off the dasher board. There's also times where he held the line or recognized that he didn't have a defensive play and had to accept an exit out of the other team's zone. I thought he made really good decisions in that area of the ice, and those are the things he'll have to do at a quicker pace, obviously, in the Ontario Hockey League. But if he's doing it now consistently, he should have no problem, translating that to the next level. I think he's going to be a defenseman we talk about for the next four or 5 years as he progresses. He's outstanding.
Okay, let's jump to the next pick. Was Toronto Junior Canadiens, Porter Martone. Crawford, I know you like this guy.
Yeah, he's I actually had him right around number 3 because of some of the players that I'm hearing that are possibly not going to stay and play in the Ontario Hockey League. So of all the sure guys, I had Porter as number 3. I was surprised Sudbury took Villeneuve ahead of him, but he's more of a, I guess if you need a goal scorer, that's what he does. He scores goals, and he's a big body, and he plays a physical game. When he was in the final game of the season, he was took a penalty and was kicked out of the game. And the Canadiens, it was like they took the air out of the tires of that team. They were unable to replace him. And he's that much of an impact player. So he's going to step in and he's going to play. I don't know how much he's going to play, but he's going to be another stud. They call them studs.
That's right. Yeah, I like the big power forward. He's got skill. He's got power. He's tough. He can help you in a lot of different ways.
He's great down below the goal line, isn't he? Like he nobody could contain him coming out from below the goal line, out of the corner to the net. Long reach, shields the puck and keeps his legs moving. He's a great offensive player, no question. Yeah.
He's a late birthday too, which is great. They're another 3-year junior, so he'll be a kid to watch in 3 years when he's going into the NHL draft, because he's gonna develop physically. He's only 170 pounds right now, but you watch out for this one in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Next up, we've got his teammate Jack Van Volson, the natural goal scorer, picked by Peterborough and pick number 6. Paul, what'd you think of Van Volson?
Yeah, he's a good 200-foot centerman. He's smart. He moves the puck real well. He can shoot too. He played the offside on that JRC power play, and any chance he got, he was ripping pucks, and they came off his stick with a lot of zip on it. He's smart. Another one, just like Martone. That line, they played together, so two kids in the top 6 picks playing on the same line. They were dominant at times when they got that cycle game going.
Yep.
They were both big bodies. They were strong. They could overmatch, and then they both had real nice touch around the net. So I like Van Volson here. He can be a good Pete. They like their players big and strong and in those square corners up in that arena.
It's a lot less space in that rink, right? Like if you remember, actually, and I found he navigates really well in traffic. Makes plays. You wonder how he makes plays. He just knows where everybody is on the ice, and like you said, that chemistry he had with Martone, they could find someone in the Peterborough lineup with a similar kind of feel, so they could work together. They could generate a lot of offense there. He's a real good player.
Next up, we have Henry Mews out of Toronto Junior Canadian, 3 Junior Canadians in a row. Their top defenseman, who was out for the OHL Cup Finals with I think a shoulder injury that he got earlier in that tournament. There's some rumor mill that he might be going south. So Ottawa taking him here, I got to think that they must feel pretty confident that's not going to happen. But a really talented 2-way defenseman. Paul, what are your thoughts on Mews?
Yeah, we had Mews as our top defender pretty much all year long. There's a bit of debate. Dickinson's a bit bigger and tougher, but Mews handles the puck so well and just dictates the pace of play when he's on the ice. Overhandles it a little bit, but they'll sort that out in Ottawa. I think he's just a dynamic defender, and he's tough too. Early in the year and in some of the tournaments, JRC won everything this year. That not a lot of people realize that, but they won because they were tougher than and they competed harder than the Sens. So, Henry Mews was a real stud for them on the back end.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Beckett Sennecke, Toronto Marlies, number 8 to Oshawa. Crawford, what'd you think of Sennecke?
And I like him too. Let's just say this guy could potentially be the top guy coming out of this draft when it comes to the NHL draft in the next little while, because he's undersized. I mean, he grew probably 3 inches, and apparently projections are that he's going to be about 6'4", and right now he's like 5'10", and he has all the skill. He, the smarts, and we call it. You can't really predict the future, but you can somehow get a good understanding of it, and I really like this pick. Oshawa made a really good pick here.
one of the most skilled offensive guys in the draft. He's very dynamic. And right around just before the Christmas shutdown, most of the scouts that saw him, we do a lot of crossover here in Ontario. Most of them had rated this player as an A plus. They really liked him in his games.
I was just looking at some notes that I made on him, and again, his ability to make plays in traffic and find space, find his teammates that are open in space, or get to open space himself. I think shows you some hockey intelligence there, and maybe it does have to do a little bit with it being a little smaller player to this point. You got to find that open space to get things done, but constantly keeping plays in motion in the offensive zone and creating opportunities at the net. I think the upside is almost limitless on this guy. It'll be interesting to watch how his junior career goes here.
Next up, we've got Michael Hage, Toronto Junior Canadians. Again, that's the 4th Junior Canadian in the top 9 picks. Michael Hage goes to Kitchener. It's kind of interesting here. He's a kid who just last week signed a tender in the USHL with Chicago Steel. So, we had him as number 3 overall. So, and I'm sure he probably would have gone 3 or 4 overall if he hadn't signed that tender. Kitchener always done well with recruiting players, and they've gotten good Americans too. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But this is a high skill playmaker, maybe one of the most skilled guys in the draft. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Hage?
Great in the face-offs. He took all the key draws for them. He killed penalties. He was out there last minute of the game. They really trust him. He like you said earlier, Brendan, we had him top 2 or 3 on our list. So for him to slip, maybe because he committed down south, hopefully the Rangers can talk him out of it because he's good.
Yeah, I saw in the OHL Cup in the quarterfinal game, not the quarterfinal, just one of the round robin games. They played Mississauga, and him and Spence were going at it. You could tell, at that time we didn't know Misa was going to be exceptional status, and you're looking at those are the 2 best forwards in the draft. And I loved watching them go at each other. It's like they knew they were the top dogs, and they were going to try to prove, which one was better. It was a fun game to watch. Let's see. The next pick for the Barrie Colts, Cole Beaudoin. How do I pronounce that? Beaudoin, out of Nepean. Crawford, you saw this guy. 2 Ottawa guys back to back here.
He played wing with Villeneuve, the 3rd pick, and he knew exactly where to go all the time, and he had empty nets to put the puck in. And let's see what he does when he doesn't have them. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I'm saying you're talking Cormier.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm saying Beaudoin. What about Cole Beaudoin?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Beaudoin's. Sorry, I got confused. There's another guy who he played with that's an 05, and he was the leading scorer in the Ottawa League, and he did the same thing. So I got them confused because they're the same kind of player. They're goal scorers if you get them the puck, and all you have to do is beat the goalie. So, yeah, that's what they do. We'll see what happens when they play at a higher level when guys are a little more physical.
Paul or Murray, you guys seen either of these guys?
No.
I know our Ottawa guys like
Cormier was. I know he was very opportunistic, but still, the one thing you always have to remember: goal scorers score goals, right? And those stats don't lie.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I read our most recent report from the HEO Midget AAA, like a recap. Both of those kids were A's. Actually, the 3 A's in that report were all taken the top 11 picks. So kudos to our Ottawa staff. Next up on number 12 pick, Jet Luchenko out of London Junior Knights. Paul's down your neck of the woods. You probably saw this guy a lot.
Yeah, great skater. Straight line up and down winger who had good pace and good jump. He played with the big rubric centerman that we talked about earlier for most of the year, and another one of these guys, very opportunistic, but he could score. And Lechenko, very, very streaky in my view. There were shifts and games that he would dominate, and then he'd be quiet for a while. But this player is going to actually, most of these players in the draft, when I look at them, they're all quite good. And Rory Cairns, Luke Evangelista type seasons, I think it's going to take a few years for them maybe to toil around and figure it out, but they're going to be good at the OHL in a couple of years. Really good.
Next up, we've got Lucas Karmiris out of Brantford. And we had this kid ranked higher. I actually bumped him down. So I'll take the knock on that one. I saw him in OHL Cup and didn't wow me as a first rounder. Thought he was maybe more of a second, third rounder. But Paul's been behind this kid since the day one. So Paul, I'll give you your time to shine on this guy. Obviously, I didn't see it.
Yeah, he's a goal scorer. He runs their power play. He gets a lot out of his game too. He's one of the, you see there's a few guys in the league that you see that are skating around that look really good, but they don't produce. And Lucas was one of those kids. He scored every game that I watched. He gets back and plays some defense as well. A kid that could use a few pounds and a little bit of power, and that'll come with age as he matures. But like you said earlier, Brendan, I've liked this boy the whole way through so far this year.
Times I saw him, Hags, like he went inside in the offensive zone. Like he didn't hover on the outside trying to feather passes through or hope a pass came to him. He went after it, and so showed a little bit of grit, I think, a little sandpaper, and to compete inside and on pucks, and so much offensive play in the OHL is played around the crease. You've got to get this to rebounds. You have to find second opportunities around the net to score. This guy's going to do it. Like and you're right. Like needs a little more, a few more rocks in his pockets but he'll mature as they all do, and he's going to score a lot of goals, and a lot of them are going to be right inside. In and around the paint. I think this is a really good pick.
Just one more comment on him too. The fact that he's a late birthday, you've got 3 or 4 of them in the top 12 now. Spence, Martone, Karmiris. Late birthdays they're great. If they're this skilled and they've got an extra year of junior, they're gonna have a good opportunity to develop at the next stage. Yeah. They can take some time to let them kind of grow into what they need to grow into. Yeah,
no, for sure. That's a good point. You're getting another year out of them for a major junior. Next up, Oshawa selects out of Quinty, first OMHA guy off the board. Ben Danford, skilled mobile defenseman. Out of Quinty, was really good at the OMHAs. Saw him there in the playoffs. Wasn't quite as good at the OHL Cup, but I thought at the OMHAs he was one of the best defensemen in that league. Great mobility, great skills. Needs to improve on the decision-making aspect, and I want to see a little more offense out of him for kind of the style that he plays. But you're getting a kid with some real tools.
Yeah, I agree there, Brendan. Great skater, dynamic on the back end, good size and length to his game. But the one thing he's got to work on that offensive side of his game. He's got to get some results out of that skill, and they'll teach him there in Oshawa.
His transition, I think he's going to be fine with. One of the things I thought he did really well at the OMHA championships were puck retrievals, like heading back into his own zone and picking up pucks below below the goal line to get the game going in the other direction. Like he accepted pressure and made good poised decisions with the puck under pressure in those situations. I don't think I can recall him once just, rimming or getting rid of the puck because of the pressure in that area on him. He tried to make a play every time and shoulder check, look for his options before going and picking those pucks up. So I think he's got some really good foundational elements that are going to build into a really competent defenseman in the OHL. So I didn't see him at the OHL Cup, but I thought his OMHA championship there he was superb.
Next up, the second guy in the OMHA, Luca Testa out of Niagara North Stars. We see this kid as a steal at 15 to London. I think we had him 10th overall. Crawford, what do you think of Testa?
I think he has the potential again to be one of the top players when he fills out physically. I think he's smart. Like, he's a really smart player, and I think he realizes that he's not going to get to the NHL today. He submits when he knows that he's gonna take a big hit, so he backs off a little bit, but when the game's on the line, he'll stick his neck out a little further, and he's one of the top skilled guys. He sets up and can score also, and I don't think he's finished growing up that way. And then when he finally does, he's going to be a big man. He's going to be probably 6'4", and with all that skill that he's got, I think they've been around for a while. Those guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, I thought at the OMHAs especially, he just makes the game look so easy because he's so smooth in his puck handling, smooth in his stride, transitions, and I think that's a sign of, like Crawford said, that's a sign of a high skilled player when you make things difficult look easy.
Yeah, I thought one of his best elements, and I saw him quite a few times down here in Niagara, is he finds, especially on the power play, he's that one-timer flanker, and one time in the puck is a tough skill at any level, and he was really, really good at getting pucks to the net from that flank on the power play. I think it's a specialty that he takes with him to the next level, and I think the London environment, we all know how well that organization develops players. Testa should thrive in that environment for sure.
Yeah, I think from our rankings, anyways, that's the biggest steal so far in the draft.
He got three. He got three the other night. Our guy down in St. Catharines was telling us he got three the other night in playoff series again, playing in the Go JHL. So he's still playing and still contributing at that level.
Yeah, I think he has 7 or 8 point tags in 4 games with the Junior B team in the playoffs. So, I mean, he's not afraid of challenges. I don't care who you are. That's still another step up, right? And to perform well like that, I think is really a testament to where he could go. Yeah, I think you're right, Brendan. I think that's a steal. Leonard's got a steal there at that pick.
Next up, we've got out of North York Rangers, the Sioux Greyhounds select Chris Brown. This guy's not as flashy as some of the guys that ranked above him, but he's a hockey player. He's a two-way. He scores a ton of goals. He's always around the puck. He was a guy I liked a lot at OHL Cup. Some of the GTHL playoffs too. I thought, like, he can kill penalties, block shots. He's a coach's dream type kid. But it was at the OHL Cup was where I really thought he elevated, because he was finding the net, and he can really finish.
I remember watching him in Whitby at the Silver Stick and being impressed with how he read plays and anticipated the flow of the play, especially in the offensive zone. and then caught him. I think at the OHL Cup as well, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought he was a better player at that time of the year. So his game rounded out a little bit more, I think. But anybody who understands the game the way he does and positions himself on the ice to make things happen, I think is just going to the learning curve is going to be fantastic for him. He's going to be an impactful player in the OHL, in my opinion.
Okay, let's see. Next guy up is Gabriel Frasca, drafted by Kingston out of the Mississauga Senators. Carver, what'd you think of Frasca this year? You saw a lot of those guys.
Yeah, he's a high skill player. He's going to be a good junior player. I'm going to go on record and say out of the three brothers, he's the best of the three, and the other two are doing quite well in the league. So, I can just leave it at that. I think he's going to be a really, really good junior player, and it'll all depend on how he matures, and he most likely will be considered for the NHL draft.
I liked him in the OHL Cup. He's a little bit understated in that Spence and Misa and Moore, like, they might get a little more attention. They might have the puck a little more, but I thought Frasca was really smart, kind of subtle skill, and made a lot of plays. Paul, what's your thoughts on Frasca?
Same. Very subtle. His game's very subtle, but it's good if you're into watching hockey players. He does a lot of things right, and he's a smart kid, always in the right spot. Works hard on the back check and works hard to get pucks back when he loses them too. So yeah, I like this. I like this pickup here.
Next up, another one of O'Hagan's favorites out of On Kings, Kaden Pitre, going to Flint, join his brother, or no, his brother's going to be gone, right? Or
he's there.
No.
he's still
So
okay. So Paul, tell us why you like Pitre. I was kind of arguing to move him down. He's similar to Karmiris. I didn't see first rounder from what I saw, but Paul's a big fan. I think you're a big fan too.
Yeah,
Crab.
I think he's the next big steal.
yeah, he's a steal. We had him right here, and we moved him down after everyone had their debate. But I think Mike and I thought all along, no, this kid's he could be one of the better players coming out of this draft in a few years. He's 200 feet. He's not playing on a super team in the G. He's doing it on his own. You start to surround him with better players, his skill level is going to go up. He tries to do a little bit too much right now, but he's got power in that stride, wants the puck, wants to be around the puck, can play physical. He's got a stocky build right now, though. They'll fit him up, when he gets to the next level. We really liked his brother. His brother's in 04, I believe.
Yep.
Late birthday 04, and we really liked him. But we've always believed that the younger brother is a little bit better. So and the older brother right now is doing quite well in Flint. So this is a really good pick and a player we really liked all year.
Rob, what'd you think of Pitre?
The special thing about Pitre is he sees all four guys on the ice when he's out there, and he's selfish when he needs to be. But he's all inclusive with the other four guys, and he puts the puck on the tape, and he'll draw guys to him, and like Paul was trying to say, being kind and all that stuff, but he's a little chubby. I'm going to say he's chubby, and when he gets in shape, he's going to be dynamic.
Okay, next up, Zane Parekh. Parekh, sorry, out of Markham Majors. Really skilled defenseman, one of the most dynamic defensemen in the draft. There are some holes there for sure defensively, and he's another guy that pushes the envelope a little too much, so he'll need some maturing at the next level. But from a skill and skating perspective, he's maybe not Mews, but he's probably the next best from a pure skills standpoint. Paul, what'd you think of Parekh?
Yeah, he's got some skill to his game. He a few end-to-end rushes, did it all himself. I think when he simplified his games in the playoff, I actually got more impressed with him because he dumbed it down, made the pass, followed up the play, became that secondary option. He's a player who probably needs to put on some weight to play at the next level, but he's got the foot speed and a lot of skill to his game.
Crawford, how about you? What's your thoughts on
Mr.
Parekh?
Parekh? I have to say that he's one of the most skilled players on the D in this draft. If he does what he does best and lets everybody else do what they do best, he tries to do things that he shouldn't do. He tries to play a tough guy role. He is never going to be a tough guy. He should just stick with what he does well. And he draws attention to himself when they're not going to put up with him. So let's just say if somebody is listening and can talk to him, please tell him to stop doing that. They're going to hurt him. All right, that's it.
Next up, we've got Ethan. Oh, I'm going to butcher this.
Procyszyn.
Out of North Central Predators. 6'1" winger, selected by North Bay. What are you guys' thoughts on this guy?
I think he's going to have, very, very little trouble moving on to the next level. Hags, I don't know what you think of it. I mean, he's got size. He's a strong skater. I think like a lot of young guys, there's still some work to be done on his edges and his transition skating, getting a little quicker change in direction. But he did it. It seemed he did everything for his team, and at times, especially offensively, it almost seemed like he was not on his own, but there was no one like him playing with him, type of thing, and so probably overextended himself at times trying to make something happen. Second and third efforts were never an issue. I think he's going to be big, strong, power forward. He's going to have a really solid junior career for sure. And if he gets a little more step in those feet, I mean, who can't use someone like that at the next level after junior as well, right? I think there's so much upside on this guy. It'll be exciting to watch his career unfold.
Yep, get him playing with better players and getting pucks fed to him with that shot.
Yeah.
Mike, you and I have talked about it a few times, and he does have a heck of a shot. It comes off. So he's got it'll be nice to watch him as he blossoms with better players surrounding him, or players more his caliber around him.
Yeah, what he does, what Paul's saying is he shoots it in stride, and he can score from the top of the circle. And you don't know when it's coming because he just gets rid of it so quick, and he's got a pro shot already. And he's going to probably, I was talking with Brendan earlier, probably he's going to be on their second unit right off the bat because of that shot. They're going to have him the guy as the trigger guy that shoots the puck on the power play. And he's probably going to score 25 to 30 goals in his first year.
Next up, we've got Frank Morelli out of Markham Waxers, drafted the second. He's first rounder, but Ottawa's second pick in the first round. It's another guy, high skill defenseman, logs a ton of minutes for that team. I remember the OMHAs. This kid was on the ice for like 7 of the last, probably 8-9 minutes of the game, and he did everything. I thought he was a very good player, really good distributor on the power play. Needs to get a little bigger, maybe a little bit better defensively, but really good instincts offensively and really push the puck up ice.
Markham had a few kids on that team who could play, and Morelli, the defenseman, and the underager Griffin. I was glued to both of them, so I can't really tell you too much about anybody else on Markham because I was just Morelli managed the game so well at the back, and the young Griffin kid who you'll see next year, he was just a treat to watch. So I don't know who else they got on that team, but I know those two I really liked.
Yeah, Morelli's offensive-minded defenseman right now. His defense will get better as he gets stronger, and he just has, like he hangs on the puck just a little bit too long sometimes, and people, he gets hit a little bit. So he'll learn through probably the hard way, hopefully he doesn't get hurt, but he can really shoot a puck from the point, so he can be a trigger guy on Ottawa's power play in the next little while. And he's willing, and he makes some big hits. So I'm looking forward to watching Frankie. I think his name's Frankie, not Frank.
Okay, Frankie. Next up, Windsor with pick number 22 in the first round. Anthony Cristoforo, another Toronto Junior Canadians. He had to step up big in OHL Cup championship because Mews was out injured, and I thought Cristoforo was outstanding in that game. Liked him the whole OHL Cup. We had him highly ranked, but I thought he hit another gear in that game when he was needed. Skating is outstanding. He's got great recovery speed. He can handle the puck. He can break pucks out clean, efficient. He can also carry it out of his own end when he's pressured. But in my opinion, he's a complete defenseman. He can play a little bit physical. He's strong in his skates, and his mobility is outstanding. I mean, he can play in the OHL next year with that kind of skating ability. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on Cristoforo. I actually thought he would go earlier than this.
I'm going to say something then. When Mews didn't play in the final game, if anybody doesn't know that's watching, and so Cristoforo stepped up and became Mews, basically became the number 1D, and he played like number 1D, and I think that's why he got picked now, because he was kind of playing in his shadow as a number 3D, and so a great pick. I really like him. He's a physical presence, plus he has offensive upside, huge. And I think that's a great pick.
He was dynamite in that OHL Cup. That's as good a game as I've seen out of a defender in a long time on that biggest stage. And it would have been nice to have Mews. I know he was hurt, but it would have been nice to have him in there to make the game a little bit more competitive. They were a great 1-2 punch for JRC all year.
Next up from Brantford 99ers, Merrick Vanakker, selected by Hamilton with the last pick in the first round. What are your guys' thoughts on Vanakker?
He's a big wide-bodied winger. He played with the Karmiris player that we talked about earlier. Vanakker was really steady for them all year. Any of the reports that came in from the scouts always had him as a B+ A player. And playoffs, I thought he stepped up his game. He played the man. He played physical. He won a lot of pucks in the corners. And created a lot of space for the rest of his teammates. So Vanakker, yeah, I like him. I like him here. A little bit higher than where we had him, but same ballpark within a few.
He's right, like a big guy, but he uses his size to his advantage, like to create offense. I thought he was another one of the one of the guys who down below the dots in the offensive zone was hard to contain at times, and was not shy taking the puck right into the crease area. If that was the lane that was open, he would do that. Remember watching him one night in Brantford and being really impressed with his ability to keep the offensive play moving. Really good board play, hard to separate from the puck and create separation. I thought he did his team a lot, gave him a lot of justice, just being able to keep the play going in the offensive zone. And sometimes he was the guy finishing it at the net, but a lot of times he was creating it for somebody else. Like gets a little stronger, gets a little quicker. There's always room for a big, strong guy with good hands in the OHL, and he could be that next player.
Next up, for Saginaw to start the second round. Or actually, should we take a quick break here? Let's take a 1 minute break, and we'll get into the second round just to kind of split it up a little bit.
He started acting like an idiot at the end of the season, Villeneuve, because they all went after him, right? So are we back on?
Back on.
Okay.
Here we go, guys. Welcome back. We're here for the second round. We'll start things off with the first pick to Saginaw. First pick was Bodie Stewart out of the Mississauga Senators on that really stacked team that won the OHL Cup championship. Paul, what are your thoughts on Stewart? I know you're a big fan of this guy. It's good to see you.
Yeah, he's a real high energy winger. He's got foot speed. He's got decent size. He needs to definitely needs to put on some weight, but he's a kid who can create space physically for some of the skilled players, but still has the abilities to hang with the skilled players. And he was very productive. Scored a lot of goals for them. Created a lot of space in the corners. Back check, forecheck. He does a lot of things right and brings a high energy game with some skill. He can hang with the good ones.
Yeah, he's got a strong two-way game. I think he plays the game the right way. He stops on pucks. He's an honest player. Can kill penalties. He's got a lethal shot on the power play. He's solid. He's only going to get better as he fills out. Next up for Niagara, they took Dickinson in the first pick. Now they're taking Kevin He here with their next pick. What are you guys' thoughts on Kevin He? Kind of a speedster out of that North York team. Great edges. Want a little more offensively. I think that's probably why he slipped to the second round. He's, from a skating perspective, he's a top 10 pick. Nate needs a little more offense to his game, but when he's on, he's on. He can be pretty fun to watch.
Not much more to add there. He can skate.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about him. If he can calm down around the net, he's gonna score a lot. But he panics, and when he finally gets it and calms down and sees the ice a little better, I think he gets tunnel vision or something. I don't know what happens to him, but he kind of panics. And I can see all the potential in the world. He does everything else like a top-notch guy, but for some reason, when he gets near the net, he just he freezes. So, good luck to him.
Next up, we've got Barry Colts select Carter Lowe, tall, athletic winger out of Toronto Marlies. Really like this kid in the OHL Cup. We had him pretty high in our midterms, but we bumped him up quite a bit after his strong finish, both in the GTHL playoffs and then into the OHL Cup. Long, athletic, he can really skate. I think his straight line speed is what really stood out to me, and that he can handle the puck at pace, which is kind of rare for such a big guy. He's got a pretty fluid stride. But you guys have seen him a lot more than me. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on him.
Like him, we were a bit down on him going into the GTHL playoffs, and he does so many things well. Big size, big reach. He skates good for a big fella. But I saw 10 games this season, early in the season where he didn't score, and then he really started to come in the playoffs, get some goals for them, get a lot of chances. Same thing in the OHL Cup. He looked a lot more dynamic, and that's one of the reasons why we bumped him up. Because he could be the complete package. We liked him as a big forward who wasn't scoring, but then when he started scoring, we liked him even more.
He did improve, like seeing him at the Silver Stick, I think it was, and then at OHL Cup. You're right, Paul. Look at my notes from the Whitby Silver Stick. He played a really competent two-way game. At OHL Cup, he looked way more confident on the offensive side, making plays happen, creating plays offensively. Looks like Barrie, with their first two picks, have gone with big forwards, Beaudoin and this guy. Maybe a future 1-2 punch for them as time rolls on.
Yeah, I think we can spend even a little bit more time talking about him, because it actually just came to me that one of their top centermen got hurt, and he replaced them. And so he moved up, and he took the proverbial and he ran with it, ball.
Yeah, took the ball and
He
ran
took
with
the
it.
ball and he ran with it, and he really played well. And the other guy had a hard time. I think when he came back in, he was dropped down to third line. So we'll talk about him later because he's going to get taken pretty soon too. But Low really stepped up his game. I don't know if it was playing with two different guys, but he seemed to be more focused, and he actually did start finding the net. So there you go.
Next up, Kingston takes Jacob Battaglia, the Toronto Junior Canadiens, a big power forward. I was probably lower on him than our scouts. When I first saw him in the playoffs, I didn't know if he had the foot speed, but I know Crawford and Hagen were really big on him, and Marlin liked him a lot. He's a hockey player. I mean, he does all the things you want. He's the kind of guy you win with. He really grew on me as the OHL Cup went on. I thought his best game was in the final game. So he's a guy who plays big when the game's big. Tough, plays up and down the boards. He's just he's a really good hockey player. I think I just doubted him early on because of the foot speed.
So I'm just looking at his stats here. He's already 210 pounds. When he trims down a couple of pounds and turns that into muscle, he's going to end up being about 220 as a man, and he's probably going to be about 6'2", and he's going to be a dominant force. I think he's going to play pro hockey. He's got pro written all over him. I said that about Mason McTavish, and this guy here is in the same category. And he's a really good teammate. Everybody loves him. So, you know, I see big things for Jacob Battaglia.
It's another one of those big forwards, right? That play really well in small areas and make just doesn't forecheck, just doesn't body check, can make plays, separates his opponent from the puck and gains possession and moves to the next play. Like there's a few of those type of play. We just talked about Vanakker a few picks ago and similar style, right? Those big, heavier forwards that after the defenseman on the opposing team by the third period is just tired of seeing that guy come at him all the time and trying to contain him. This guy's like a pro prototype, right? Like I thought on a really good team, he was very noticeable. I think that's a good quality in different ways, right? Like his style, you wouldn't get out of some of the other guys on that junior Canadiens team, but he was really effective. I think that's a great player.
Paul, what about you? What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I can't say anymore. You guys have said a lot of good
Come on,
things.
join the band.
Join the band.
And, same. I just echo the sentiment. He's big, moves, skill. And saw him playing the point on the power play this year as a winger too, right? Like really interesting, dynamic player that when he gets those feet going and gets fit and playing and practicing 7 days a week, he could turn into something.
Next up, second round, number 28 overall. Sudbury selects 6'5" Kieron Walton out of the North York Rangers. This kid's probably the most debated kid in the draft, not just with our staff, but in other staffs I've talked to. People had him, as high as a 10th overall and as low as a third rounder. He's got exceptional. I think he's the most talented player in the draft, in my opinion. He's unbelievable skating for that size, pure speed. He's got slick hands. There's a lot of things he does really well, but he's also got a lot of gaping holes in his game. He lacks an edge that you want to see out of a player that size. He's a little too one-on-one at this point. Doesn't really utilize the other kids on the ice. I'm not saying he's selfish. He just doesn't. He's kind of puts the beams on and plays a north-south game and a little more compete. I mean, sometimes he's the kind of guy that does the big rink turn, slow to get back. You want to see him stop on the puck and hustle back defensively. But in terms of pure skill, at least from what I saw, I didn't see anybody that wowed me the way that this kid did when he would take a puck end to end on the power play and just fly. I mean, he went by really good defensemen like they were standing still. So, that's why he fell to this thing, because he's inconsistent. He's got some holes, but if he becomes what he can be, this will be the steal of the draft.
There is no I in team, and I'll just leave it at that.
And the ever optimist in me, he's 16 or 15, or how old are these players? They're 15, 16.
Yep.
If he goes to a good junior program and they can work with him, there's like as you said earlier, Brennan, great size, length, speed, all of it. And there were games this year where he dominated, and then games this year where Mike and I were going, where is he? But he's 16, and let's see where he is at 22 when it's important, right?
It's all upside with this guy, right? And he's going to get every opportunity to become the best player he can be, and let's hope he does it, because he's all shown us moments of brilliance almost, right? And be great to package that together. And I think Hage, you hit it right on the head, right? He just turned 16 years old this year, so there's a lot of growing to do anyways. And hopefully it comes together for him over a 4-year period here in junior, 4 or 5 year period.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I hope this kid gets it, because he should be the first pick overall.
Next up, we've got Lucas Elenis from North York Rangers. It's going to Barrie Colts. He slid a little bit because he was injured there towards the end of the year. Didn't play in the playoffs. Didn't play in the OHL Cup. But what did you guys think of this guy when he was out there?
Big, heavy power forward. Actually, I won't say he's heavy, because he still needs to put on some pounds. But at this age, he played a heavy game. Big reach, big length on him. Was very productive for that North York team when he was in the lineup. But he was in and out a few times this year. Mike, I think you were there in Markham at Thanksgiving. He looked really good in that tournament. Then he got hurt, and then he came back. Helped him at the Silver Stick, and then he got hurt again. So it was tough to get a read on him this year. But obviously, where did he go? Who picked him?
Went to Barrie.
So there's another, like the first 2 picks. There's some big players.
When I saw him in Whitby, one of the things I found he was really good at was his board play, like exits out of the defensive zone. He made good plays on the boards, rarely turned it over. And when I saw him, that takes attention, right? Like, some players will just throw that puck away, hoping it gets to somebody or hoping it gets out of the zone. Like, he made productive plays under pressure, strong, shielded the puck. So physical play is not something that's foreign to him. It's a prototype, and that whole line is going to be a monster line at some point in time for Barrie Hage, right? Like, there's strong physical player with upside. That's what we're talking about again with him, I think.
Next up, we've got Owen Sound, pick number 30 overall. Takes Braden Rodgers out of Quinty. Another OMHA defenseman, a kid we liked a lot. This kid's very versatile. He's a guy who can play. I think he's a guy who can play in the OHL next year, because he can play any of the 6 positions defensively. He can be a bottom line guy, plug some minutes, block shots, play a physical game. He can also run a power play. He's got a heavy shot from the back end. He's a good skater. Shadows guys really tight, good gaps. He's got a little bit of everything. I like this kid a lot. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah. Quinty have a player who was picked in the 3rd round. His name's Cal Ewens. Cal's playing a lot of minutes for his rookie year, and Rodgers is a step up from Cal. Not taking anything away from Cal, but he's a bigger player, and he has a big shot from the point. And defensively, he's very sound, and so Owen Sound has some kind of a connection there with the Quinty D. So I like this pick.
It's funny you mentioned that too. You get some themes as you're watching these kids for a few years, but whoever's developing defensemen up in Quinny, there's been a few that have come out in the last few years. Aaron Brown, Donovan McCoy, Ewens, Danford, and Rodgers. And they had 5 on their back end this year on that Quinny team who were really good defensemen.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Kitchener with number 31 goes to the States. It's the first American drafted. 6'1" defenseman, Cole Longanker. It's funny, we were just saying earlier in the broadcast that Kitchener has a good track record with American players. Since McKenzie's been there, he's done a really good job landing some high-level Americans. Longanker was a kid. He was at the I've seen him a lot in the last month and a half. He was at the NTDP national camp top 40, trying out. Some debate whether he should have made the national team or not. Big, physical. He's mobile for his size, really strong. He's already over 200 pounds. He's got a heavy shot. So he's got some offense and some tough defense as well. And then at nationals, he played with Windy City. He was their top, him and another Canadian, a fellow Canadian player, Williams on that back end were really strong. But, I hadn't heard, that wasn't a name I had heard. I've heard some other American names in the last couple of weeks that are getting a lot of OHL attention, but I hadn't heard Cole's name. So this potentially could be a really nice pick for Kitchener. I think we have Cole in the top 25 in our U.S. rankings, I believe. If not, he's right around there. So he was right on the bubble of making the U.S. national team. So you're getting a really high-quality defenseman here if they can land him. Next up, Mississauga selects the first goalie off the board, Ryerson Leenders out of the Toronto Nats. I don't know if you guys have seen this kid. I haven't seen him.
You want to talk about him, Paul? Because I can talk about him if you want.
Yeah, he's a big athletic goaltender. You're going to see a theme this year in the GTHL and actually outside of it as well. There's a lot of big goaltenders, and he's athletic. Like him when he comes out and challenges. Mike and I talk about this. You hate him when they back in, right? When they get a few put by them and they start to sit in his net. But he gets out there, he'll challenge you, and he was one of the better, obviously, in our view, one of the better goalies in Ontario this year.
From my past experience in the draft, when I worked with the Belleville Bulls, usually the goaltenders don't start to drop until the 5th round. So I'm finding it a bit strange that they're going this early. They have their own reasons. I like this guy. None of them are ready to play against 20-year-old shots, top shots in Ontario, let alone Canada, and I think this guy could potentially become a starting goalie. He's got a lot of work to do. His confidence against kids his own age sometimes it wavers. So when he's on, he can be very exciting to watch and make some amazing saves. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, next up, we've got Nathan Aspinall out of Markham Waxers, 6'4", forward. This is a guy who you could call this a steal too. At number 33 to Flint. Boy, for how big he is, he's awfully skilled, awfully smooth. He's like a power forward version of Testa, where he's kind of smooth and makes the game look easy. Not as consistent, I wouldn't say. Maybe that's the area he's got to improve on. Maybe that's why he fell to this level. But for that size and that skill combination, he's a rare talent.
He's in your backyard, isn't he, Murray? You saw that guy, didn't you? I don't know. I can talk about him if you want. He's muted, I think.
Yeah, we got
Murray,
Murray.
Murray, you're muted. Paul, what do you think of Aspinall?
Same. He's skilled. Great length to his game, reach. He's another one of these opportunistic guys. He played with the little Griffin, the 07, and Aspinall knew where his bread was buttered. He got to the net, stick down, always presented himself, worked hard to get to the net, and he was one of the leading scorers in that league, deservedly so, because he's got some good touch around that net. Murray, you were talking.
Yeah, sorry. Sweet hands on this guy for a big player. I think with him, little bit of development and training and growth from the hips down, get a little bit of strength, and add some power stride to his game. He'll be able to, manhandle space in front of the net, but he seems to be able to make plays in a phone booth to get the puck on net and knows where to go. I think he's a really. I think he's going to be an offensive threat almost immediately because he positions himself so well around the net to get his stick on pucks or be available for passes. A smart offensive player for sure.
Yeah, I'll finish off with Nathan Aspinall that he's always scored for the past 4 or 5 years. So coming up, he's always been a big scorer, and he continues to keep getting better with his scoring. He got to play with one of the top players in Ontario who's going to be in next year's draft, Owen Griffin. And the two of them, there's another undersized guy that played with that Markham team. His last name is Good. And so they had a nice little line there and could compete with any of the top lines in Ontario. And this guy can finish. He just got to get a little more committed. Let's just say he's got to commit to his and his finish. He's just a little flaky with his finish. He can really snap off a puck when he wants to, and when he starts doing that more consistently, he's going to be a big scorer in the Ontario Hockey League for sure.
Next pick, we go to Windsor, another goal scorer, Liam Greentree, 6'1" in change, 195 pounds, kind of a power forward, but also skilled. And he's got a missile for a shot. I saw them in the GTHL playoffs. Paul told me to keep an eye on him. It was kind of quiet. And then in the third period, when the game was on the line, he turned it on, and boy, can he shoot it. So needs to be a little more consistent, a little more engaged at times. But when he's got the puck in the offensive zone, he can score from anywhere.
And good breakaway speed. He was the guy that you'd always kind of see him sneaking through a seam and somebody'd hit him, and he was gone. When he got a step on you with that big frame and that reach, he was tough to he was tough to handle.
That puts us at pick 35. Owen Sound takes Antonio Tersigny, winger out of Toronto Junior Canadiens. It's another. I think that's another. We said Braden Rodgers was probably a steal at 30. I think Tersigny might be a steal at 35. Owen Sound with two two really nice picks here in the second round, kids that could come in and play right away.
Is there many players that would be faster than this guy, like flat out? Like he's all speed, eh? Like, and he's smart. Like anybody can skate all over the ice, but he's a smart player, and he's just explosive. I found in the games, penalty killing was absolutely outstanding. He had a good sense of timing and was quick enough to get to where the puck was going before it even got there. I think he'll be a really effective player just because of his speed and his intelligence on the ice.
Yeah, and he's another guy that, like, to me, he can play up and down the lineup. Like, that's why I say he can play right away. Like, he might not be top 6, next year. Probably won't be, but he's someone that can play a bottom 6 if he has to, because he's got such hustle, takes good pursuit angles. Like you said, Murray, really smart player. And then he can climb his way right up the lineup. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about this guy, in the NHL draft in a couple of years, even though he's an undersized guy. With that brain and those feet, that's a pretty good combination.
We talked about that line earlier with Martone and Van Volson. They went top 6, right? The two of them. Tracini made it go as well. There were a lot of nights there. He was the toughest kid on that line playing with the two big guys. He would get in there and win pucks and create space for them. And then you'd see the kid stand at the sideline with his after the game with his suit on, and he's about 140 pounds. So like to see him in a few years when he thickens up and gets into the junior training and the development there. I think that he'll be a good one.
Next one up, Oshawa takes David Bedkowski, 6'3" right shot defenseman, late birth year out of Richmond Hill Coyotes. What'd you guys think of this kid?
Nobody wants to talk about him?
I like him a lot. Big, lanky. If you compare him to Rodgers and Danford and some of the other guys out in that region, he's a bit bigger. Doesn't quite have the offensive side to him, but moves the pucks well, mobile. He'll figure it out. He's right where he should be, right around the same area we thought we had him. Within the defenseman. So I like him.
Yeah, he competes, so you're gonna have a hard time. So let's talk about the guy that we were just talking about, Terracini and Bedkowski. I think Bedkowski's gonna win the battle. Terracini might win the quick race to the corner, but Bedkowski's gonna take him out. So that's what Terracini has to deal with, and Bedkowski can handle those kind of guys. He can contain them. So that's what Oshawa's probably taken him for, to shut down. So they play against each other, I think. And that's usually what you do in the war room with your team. You're trying, it's kind of like they've taken him, who we got to counter. So, and that's why this guy was taken. I would have thought he would have gone in the third round, but he's a right D, and right Ds are treasured, and he's a local kid.
Yeah, a late birth year.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got London Knights select Sam O'Reilly out of the Vaughan Kings. This is I didn't see him much, you guys, but I would say he's like a Chris Brown in that he can do everything, plays really hard, high compete. I don't know if he's got the offensive upside as some of the guys in front of him, but he's definitely a guy who you can rely on in all three zones to play the game the right way.
So, Paul, the London Knights. The Hunters.
Yep.
They had to toughen up, and that's why this guy's going this right now. Because he's a tough kid. He's one of the toughest kids in the GTHL, and he can score. He's going to create a lot of space for anybody else that he plays with, and he's typical London Knight material. They got away from it, I think, in the last couple of years, and they know what that they got to get back to it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Don't sleep on his offensive skills, Brendan. Again, another one of those guys. You put him in one of those stacked lineups, he would be producing. He's got a really good power game. He got 4 in the OHL Cup in one game against a pretty good northern team. So, in my view, he just needed a few more pieces around him to help him kind of get to the level that he needed to be. But I think he's a really good pickup. Testa for London and O'Reilly now. That's a couple really nice ones. A couple that I really like personally.
Next up, we go back to the second goalie here picked, Jacob Gibbons, out of the Markham Majors, the late birth year, November 23, 6'4". What'd you guys think of Gibbons?
I saw some stats on him. I think he's 6'5". I don't know where they got him listed, but he's the biggest goalie by far this year, the biggest goalie they can play. That Markham Waxers team, they ran to the GTHL finals. They ran to the OHL Cup semifinals. I think they were in the semis at Silver Stick. And part of that is Gibbons and the way he played in the net. He didn't give up much at all in the OHL Cup. Neither did they. They had a tandem there. Gibbons and Galton were both very, very good goaltenders and really stabilized the back of that Majors team. At 6'5", you're gonna get a kid you can work with.
Are we getting tired already, Paul? He plays with Markham Majors. But anyways, I can see how you get confused. But no, he's NHL prototype was a word I used today. They're going to work with this guy, and he's going to play at a really high level. I guess that's why they're taking them earlier, because they don't want to give up the top guys. He's one of the top 10 goalies in the province. So, yeah, huge potential.
I liked how he could play the puck. I didn't see him a ton, but I know usually some of the bigger guys at this age group, they kind of sit back in the net, they're a little conservative. And this kid comes out, challenges, and plays the puck. It's a pretty good puck skill for big goalie. Okay, our next pick here, 39, Kaden Kelly, out of the Mississauga Senators, right winger. Is this the 88? Was this kid that wore 88?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on him, Paul?
He's that was a stacked team. He was I wouldn't call him a role player on that team because they were all skilled, but he played in behind the top line. When he got a chance to play with any of the skilled kids, he finished. Games that we saw, he was the best player on the ice. And then another one who went quiet for a bit. So if he can get some consistency in his game and continue to work on that, he's got a rifle of a shot. He can skate. I know he's a lacrosse player, so he's got great hands and competes. And in my view, it's just the consistency. Keep it there, because there were nights I saw him and I didn't like him, and there were nights that Mike saw him and he didn't like him, and then there's nights that other scouts saw him and everybody liked him. So the consistency needs to happen for him.
Yeah, it looks like we said with them, they took some defensemen early. And if you look at what's left with some of the big scorers, Volson, Walton, Greentree, the kid from North Predators, a lot of the goal scorers are coming off the board early. So this might be one of the better goal scorers that's left on the board. Like you said, Paul, he's got a great release. Let's see. Next up, we have Hunter McKenzie, big, strong, really skilled power forward out of Halton Hills Hurricanes. Another late birth year. Murray, you saw this guy at the OMHA playoffs. What'd you think of McKenzie?
Yeah, I liked how he played. Determined style. didn't shy from traffic, initiated plays to the inside. Reminds me a little bit in terms of his size and style of play, his Procyszyn there from North Central. Uses his body to maintain possession of the puck, shield the puck. He's hard to be stripped of it, and which allows him to continue moving plays along. So I think he's got a little bit of work to do on his feet as we're getting into that part of the draft where they all need to probably develop a little bit more in their edges and acceleration, and some of that is training, some of it is maturing physically, that sort of thing. But and Mackenzie's a smart player, competitive. He competes. I think there's room for a guy like that for sure. It's a good pick.
And he's another one of those players. You surround him with more players at his skill level, he'll be one to watch blossom.
Yeah. He's got sneaky good hands for how big he is, but he does need a step. Like that would be the one knock I would say, is that his feet need a little work. Next up, Erie with the 41st pick goes to Vaughan, selects Logan Sawyer, 6 foot left winger. What do you guys think of Sawyer?
He's a very similar player to Aspinall in my view. Tall, lanky, good hands around the net. Needs a little bit more sandpaper in his game and compete, but he scores. He scores. He's all over it on the power play, around the net. He's got great touch, great reach. Feet need to most guys after the first round, they all need something to work on, and as he gets to the next level, he's going to be challenged to get faster, to be able to do what he's doing. But yeah, very similar type of player to Aspinall, who we just talked about.
I like Sawyer because he's about 6'2". He's that guy that wore number 93 for Vaughan. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to be a really dangerous player. He creates from corners, so he's really smart right now. And if he, like you say, if he gets the speed, but he knows what he's working with right now, and he can work the corners. He can work behind the net. He can work out in front of the net and get free because of his reach. And he's dangerous. He's really dangerous around the net. So, but the trick is he's got to work patiently at improving what he's weak at right now, and that's top end speed.
Next 2 guys off the board, we've got a pair of goalies. 42nd, Sue selects Landon Miller out of Vaughan Kings, 6'3" goalie, and then 43 right after it, Sudbury takes Andrew Galton, 6'1" goaltender out of the Markham Majors. What are you guys' thoughts on those 2 guys?
It's surprised to see the run on the goalie so early. Is that 4 or 5 in the first 2 rounds? That's quite a number.
That's 4 and 5. Yep.
Yeah, both these guys were good for their teams this year. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the Waxers, I was wrong. It was the Majors. Galton and Gibbons were a great 1-2 tandem for the Majors. Miller, same. He's a big body in there. Not afraid to come out and challenge shooters. The mobility, he's going to need to work on that. But he's got the size and the frame. He's another one like Gibbons with good upside, really good upside because of the frame. If they can coach him and teach him how to play in the net, he'll make an impact at the next level.
He can make spectacular saves. This guy, he attacks the puck when he's given the opportunity. I saw him playing against like the middle kind of teams, and he won games. Vaughan shouldn't have even been in the games, but he won the games for them, and that's what you want with a goaltender. And yeah, he'll have he'll have ample opportunity within a year or so, I think, to come right in and take the number one job.
Next up, North Bay selects Jacob Therian out of Clarington, little high skill forward. Paul, I know you were a big fan of this guy when we had our draft meeting. What do you think of Jacob Therian?
He's a ball of energy all over the ice. Good motor, works, loves to shoot. Like him to stay out of the tough stuff, the rough stuff, because he's 5'5", and that he's not going to last too long at the next level doing that. But he'll compete and he'll hit and just brings a lot of energy and offensive oomph to the game. Mike, I know you've seen him quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm worried about him because I like the kid. He doesn't know how to back off, but he should until he figures it out. He's probably going to be about 5'10". I talked to him and his father at the beginning of the summer, and he plays lacrosse, so I guess that's built into him, and he doesn't know enough to back off, so he'll have to probably learn the hard way. But who knows? Domi was about that size, so I might not know what the hell I'm talking about. So time will tell.
Well, he'll be that. He'll be that momentum changer in a game, right? Where he can keep up with the play. He can initiate. He obviously plays with a bit of an edge, and there's always moments in games where the coach needs to throw that guy on a line over the boards to just change some momentum, get some energy back, and if he's able to do that, he will find himself a roster spot, no question. And then it's a matter of just improving everything about his game and becoming a competent player. So if he's able to channel it in the right direction, like you guys say, there's always room for an energy guy, right? Teams love it, and you think back when you played, you just love those guys in your lineup that play the same way shift after shift, regardless of the score. Maybe this is one of those guys.
No, for sure. Next up, we've got Sarnia with the 45th pick. They take Sean Doherty out of Ajax Pickering. That you could say this is a steal. This kid was outstanding at the OMHA championships. I think we got an A or an A- grade for us. Wasn't quite as effective at the OHL Cup when they had to play some of those loaded teams in the G, but he's a hell of a hockey player. He's a two-way presence and he's got a lot of skill, excellent puck skill. Murray, what did you think of him at the OMHA championship?
Yeah, I really like this guy. I mean, I saw him before that in a game in Pickering. I thought he was the best player on the ice in that game. And then again in that tournament, good foot speed, good offensive instincts, not afraid to take the puck into the middle to make something happen. I thought he showed some courage that way because he's not the biggest guy, right? Like he's still got room to grow and put on some meat, but quick feet, are hard on pucks, wins races, sees the ice pretty well. I think I think you're right. I think this is at this number. This is a really good player who's going to turn some heads. Just if he continues growing and getting stronger and evolves his game, I think it's a great pick.
I classify him as probably one of, if not the best one-on-one guy in the draft. So he'll challenge anybody, doesn't matter, and he'll drop his shoulder and you can't get at the puck. And when he gets in on the goalie, if he doesn't hit the net, then you're surprised because he always hits the net. and usually scores. So I think, again, he's got some work to do on his defensive part of the game. I think just because he expends so much energy when he's out there, he's just got to learn to be, a little more conservative and start to get into a rhythm more so like a pro would. And once he gets that, then he's going to be a real force.
Next up for Flint, take big, tough, physical defenseman Reed Yee out of Quinty. Paul, what'd you think of Reed this year?
Yeah, I said this earlier that Quinny had 4 or 5 kids who were really good on the back end. I like G because he was physical. You kind of had to keep your head up going through the neutral zone with him. He'd hit you hard. He was actually the guy who got Mews in the semifinals of the OHL Cup. He hit him hard and hurt him. So he does bring that physical element to it. He can carry the puck. He can handle the puck. They had such a good D. They really managed pucks well at the back end, and they were all confident with it. And G was the guy who kind of brought that physical edge. If he can control that, controlled aggression is important, and not get dumb with it or chippy with it. He could be a player at the next level.
I agree with you. He's got some work on his edges, the pivoting and the turning to go back and retreat. But when he did go, what I saw at the OMHAs is when he did get back to that puck, he made good decisions with the puck. He really utilized his D partner to, pull in pressure and dish it over to his D partner and trap the pressure so that their team was headed up ice again. And again, you mentioned it, this team had a really good back end, and he was part of the reason. And is to have that ability to manage the puck with his physical willingness to engage. Boy, oh boy! I mean, hockey's still a physical game. It's not it's not what it was in terms of the over-the-top physical play, but it's still hard to get around a guy like this defenseman or win a race against him when the puck's laying in the corner and there's only one way out, and that's either through or around a guy like this. He plays hard in those areas, and I think you're right, Hage. I think he's going to quietly get better. Because he's got he does those little things that we need defensemen to do really well. He's on top of that already. So good player, real good player.
Next up for Oshawa, they take Tyler Graham, right winger, out of Cambridge Hawks. This isn't a player I've seen. Paul, have you seen much of Tyler? What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's a strong kid, and if I go back in the draft and look at the comparables, they've all kind of got one thing in common: Kaden Pitre, Sam O'Reilly, Hunter McKenzie, Tyler Graham's a similar player, right? Solid, stocky, hands. They can play the game. They're going to need to get a little fitter at the next level, but they will when they're playing 7 days a week. But they're all the group, and Graham fits right in that group I mentioned. They're all thick kids who can get around the ice and aren't afraid to engage physically. Yeah, that's about all I can say on Graham.
Yep. Next up, the Sioux take Broden McConnell-Barker, left shot D out of London Junior Knights. I thought he was excellent at OHL Cup. He's kind of subtle, but had some skill, defends really well, good stick positioning defensively, in his own end. I thought he was really disciplined, not a flashy kind of guy, although he's got skill. But I was really impressed after watching him play.
So, Paul, is his brother not up in the Sioux?
Yep.
So there's another brother connection. That's the third one, right? And he's got all like, they use the word upside, but like I call it potential because he's 160 pounds, and I think he's bigger than 5'10", isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to keep growing, and he's already got the 3 S's: skill, smart, and he can shoot a puck.
Yeah. I thought he was really good at recovery. Like I one of the things I noted about him, I thought he was a risk taker, like calculated risk, good puck mover. But if things went the wrong way, and if there's a turnover or change of possession, whether it's from him or one of his teammates, he was quick to readjust, right? So on offense, he just doesn't just take off up the ice with the rush. And if there's a turnover, he finishes with a big swing. He turns and gets back to defend quickly. I thought he showed like a real commitment to a two-way game there, and was quick enough to do it. So I think Sioux kind of plays that more wide open type of game and activates their D a lot. He's going to fit in probably quite nice with the style of play they have up there, and contribute over time. He'll be a competent junior player for sure.
And you guys, you saw him at the OHL Cup, and if I told you that he played center last year, played center the year before, played defense as a youngster, you wouldn't be surprised, right? Like this year was a year where he decided he was going to go back and play on defense because they needed him to play there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right? Yeah, good for him.
And so that's what they're doing now in the NHL. They're drafting these guys not on what position they're playing, and that's where they're going to play. They draft them because they can play all 5 positions, because they all have to interchange. There's so much movement out there that you have to be able to play all 5. You can't just be a right winger anymore.
Yeah.
Next up, Hamilton Bulldogs select Mason Ray out of North Bay Trappers. This is he's a little bit all over the place, but he's a hell of a hockey player. Tough, high compete, he's physical, he's got speed, he attacks the net. At the OHL Cup, he was one of my favorite kids that I watched. So I think this is a great pick to get him late, in the 3rd round.
Another one of those top steal. Like, he's a steal at 3rd round. Like, wow. This guy can shoot a puck, and he's 160 pounds, 6'2", like, and he's been playing up north there. Nobody really knows about him. They're not going to take a chance on a guy that they've only seen for 3 games or whatever. But maybe they're not listening to their area scouts. But this guy is he's one of the top picks in my books, and what a steal! This guy is going to replace Mason McTavish right away. When they're like, Mason's going to the American League next year, and this guy's going to move right in.
Yeah, he's got some really good. Hopefully, the northern kids, right? Their adjustment time seems to be a little bit different than some of the others. But this guy's got some good bloodlines too, right? Scott Ray, I think, is his dad, who played in the league years ago, and I think his dad's one of the coaches with the battalion at this point. But so there's something to be said for that, I think, too. And what I was impressed at the OHL Cup was he didn't just show well playing. Like, he was one of the best players on the ice, right? The game I saw, I think they were playing London that first game. He was outstanding, and so it's be great to have a crystal ball and see what he's going to be like in a couple of years. But his trajectory is off the charts, I think. Like, really good player.
Next up are the Barrie Colts. Select Kayshon Hutchison, big lefty out of North York. He's a kid who's been trending up the last couple months in the GTHL playoffs, and then again at the OHL Cup. This kid that's just steadily climbed up our rankings list. I think we have him kind of right around here. Paul, what are your thoughts on Hutchison?
Yeah, he's a late birthday, and we've liked him. There's a few like him on that team that we like. North York had a nice defense. He's athletic. He's pretty headsy in his own end. He competes hard. He'll engage on the offense and look to join the attack. The one story I have about him, you'd go to a GTHL game 9:00 on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and I did this a lot this year, and there were 2 or 3 cold winter nights, 9-10 o'clock at night, and the other team had a hate on for this kid. He got under their skin, right? And it was consistent. He just got under people's skin, and you're kind of sitting there freezing in the rink, and this guy is bugging the other team, and he did that. He did that well. And there's something to be said for kids who kind of get in there and compete. That it is a bit of a challenge out there, and you're going to be playing against older kids, and I've liked them all year long.
And I want to say one thing about him. He reminds me of a guy who's playing for the Hamilton Bulldogs right now, and he was undrafted, and he's the best plus-minus defenseman in the league right now. His name's Arbor Ashteka. They're very similar, and Arbor was undrafted. This guy, I think a lot of scouts learned that this is the type of guy that we have to get, because he is going to keep you honest. Every game he's going to be in your face, and there's going to be no monkey business, because this guy's he doesn't care who you are. He won't back off.
Another late birthday too, eh?
Yep. Next up, Mississauga took Parker Von Richter, almost 6'1" defenseman out of Toronto Marlies. What'd you guys think of Von Richter?
He was a steady defender. He played behind Dickinson. I think this is a little higher than where we had Van Richter going, but he was serviceable on the back end. He competes, moves and manages pucks well. He's not afraid. In our view, we had him probably a round or two later, but this, he can play, and he's going to need to bulk up and take some time to power up his lower half to be able to skate at the next level. Mike Murray, you got thoughts on?
His feet are the only thing that concern me, and with some hard work and maybe some dance lessons out there on the ice, then he'll learn, because he's got a great shot from the point. Always on the net. I've seen him score a couple goals in some games. He could be a sleeper.
After that, we've got London at pick 52. Select William Nickel out of the Ottawa Senators, U18s.
So nobody else can talk about him, but I think I'm the only one that can talk about him. I saw him 2 years ago at Kitchener Blue Line tournament, and just a tiny little guy with unbelievable skills. I think he might have been 5 feet tall, and I think what have they got him at now?
5'10", 150.
Yeah, so he's growing. I'm not sure if he's going to get over 6 feet or not, but he's really, really skilled, really smart. And another guy who, London seems to know what the hell they're doing, eh? They're always in the hunt. So it's because they do their homework, and they know what it takes to win. And this guy's going to help them win.
Yeah, we had a run on Ottawa kids early, and then it's been kind of quiet. So I think he's the 5th Ottawa guy taken, but I don't think there was any in the second round, just a bunch early. So nice steal here for a skilled Ottawa kid late. Next up, Owen Sound takes Carter George, goaltender out of Thunder Bay Kings. What's your guys' thoughts on Carter?
Outstanding, to be honest with you. He was saw him early in the year in London, and Murray, you would have seen him as well. You were in watching a few bands, and he can steal games, and he stole a bunch of games early in that London tournament. I think Thunder Bay might have scored maybe 2 goals all tournament, and they had 1 loss in pool play. It was because George was in there. He's very stable at the back, very athletic, undersized. So I'm surprised that he's going. Well, he's almost 6 feet, but they like the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" goaltenders. But he's undersized and athletic, and really competes in there.
Yeah, he was. I remember that turn. I went in to catch a Thunder Bay game just because I knew one of the players' dads, and it's my hometown, and it was the night he absolutely. It was the Thursday night in London, and he absolutely stole the show. He was fantastic, and I had hoped to circle back and see him a couple times with that Thunder Bay team playing in the GTHL, but. There's a couple cancellations due to COVID. Unfortunately, I never got to circle back and see how he did. But he certainly played well that in that viewing that I saw.
Next up here for Saginaw, pick number 54. They took Joshua Glavin, another late birth here, 6'2" left shot defenseman out of Lambton Junior Sting.
This big raw, the Lambton team wasn't real strong, but they gave Brantford a heck of a run in the playoffs this year. Brantford was, I think, the one team, and Lambton 8, and Glavin played a ton in that series, played very well. He can get forward. I wouldn't call him a two-way threat yet. He's got to work on kind of the offensive side, but he's got massive wingspan and competes really hard in his zone. He's another one who'll keep you honest. It's going to take a year or two to develop to get to the next level, but I like this player.
Next up, Flint with pick 55 took Graydon Strohat, 6'2" and change defense, left shot D out of Waterloo. I took some lumps early in the draft. I moved some guys down that Paul and Crawford and Murray liked, but this is my guy. Finally getting you guys back. I lobbied to move this guy up at OHL Cup. Tell a story. So you got the 2 rinks going back and forth. I watched him a little bit in the first. I go back to the other rink, and I noted, the kid's got great length, reach, really good stick defensively. Then I come, but I'm questioning, does he handle the puck? I go to the other game, and I come back when they're doing the Zamboni, and he's making some great passes. He's dishing it all over on the power play. So, geez, this guy can handle too. So I make a note of that. Go back to the other rink to catch the last period of that game, and then end up seeing the last 5 minutes of this. And in my notes, I'd said, defends well with the stick, good with the puck, maybe not the most physical guy. And then the last 5 minutes of the game, he was a monster. He was taking out other teams' best players. He was hitting guys in the corners. So I look at this guy as just, he can do everything. He's not limited in any specific skill set. I think he does everything well. He's not a stud in any area, but he's really good at everything. To me, this is a nice pick for Flint.
Very, very much like Glavin too, who I just described with the big wingspan. The one thing I will say about Strohat, he improved every time I saw him this year. I didn't get a chance at the OHL Cup because I had COVID myself, but and they were done before I got there. But yeah, every time I saw him, he was getting better, more comfortable with the puck, running the power play. So good call here, Brendan.
Finally. Took my lumps early. 56 overall, Kitchener Rangers take Justin Botno, centerman out of Toronto Marlies. I know you guys like this guy.
I really like this guy. He was the guy I was talking about that was hurt, and Lowe came in and replaced him. He gets hurt because he's about 140 pounds, and they got him here. Well, I'm going to say he's 6 foot, and he just plays with reckless abandon, and he's just like he's going to be a really good player. And he's, like I try to get the crystal ball out, and this guy's got, I think, I'm going to go as far as say NHL written on him, because I can just see there's a guy that I compare him with that played a little bit like him, and he won the scoring championship in the Ontario Hockey League last year, except this guy's got more edge than Wyatt Johnston. So that's why I'm going that far ahead. He's going to be a game changer. Kitchener really did so far. They're on the ball. I really like this guy.
And Mike convinced me on Botno months ago. You got to go watch him. You got to go watch him and watch him. He competes. He's not just a skilled guy. He gets up and down the ice, and he's prickly. He's gonna challenge people. I'm with Mike here. He's a steal here at 56. We were actually at one point in time when we put our February list out, we were thinking maybe this guy's a first rounder.
Yeah, wow. Next up, Flint takes Riley Patterson out of Mississauga Senators. Really like this kid in the playoffs and in the OHL Cup. I thought he was a little bit underrated because you've got so much talent on that team with Spence, with some other guys. But this is a kid who he's got details in his game, both offensively and defensively. He's got kind of a subtlety, but real skill too. He can shoot it. He's got some toughness. I think he for a third rounder, you're typically not looking for a guy who's going to come in and play right away, but he might be able to play right away. He's got that kind of build. He's got that kind of game. I think he's versatile. He was one of my favorites at OHL Cup.
Yeah, he switched over from the Don Mills Flyers at the beginning of the season. And I saw him in Scarborough at the beginning of the season. There was a tournament there, and he caught my eye right away. And he falls like he could be as good as Martone. That's comparable. So that's what I mean. Like, there's very little to choose from in this first to third round. There's guys that could have been first rounders. It's just beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think the beauty for Patterson, and he's going to play at a high level in the Ontario Hockey League. Where he goes from there will depend on how hard he wants to work and how he competes really hard. These three guys, Botno, Patterson, and the next one after him, which we're going to talk about in a minute, they're all the same kind of player. They're going to be playing against each other, and the strongest will survive.
Yeah, next pick for the Sioux Greyhounds. This is Paul. Really liked this guy. Got me onto him, and I totally agree. Alex Kostov, 6'2" and change, right shot, winger out of the Markham Majors. Paul, tell what got you onto this kid.
Well, he's just a big guy who got around the ice okay, got in front of the net, played a real strong give and go game. Isn't a real puck carrier, but he's a puck retriever, and he uses the guys around him well. If he sees he's going to get fed, he'll go hard to the net. And as the season went on, he started getting a little bit more rugged in his game, pushing guys around a bit and making life miserable for him. And that's when his game really started to elevate. He was really big for the majors. in the playoffs. Got a lot of goals, was around the net constantly, and really overpowered a few of the smaller D on his way. So yeah, this is a good another. As Mike said, those last three picks, Patterson, Kostoff, and Botno, they're all very similar players. Very good skills, fast with an edge.
Next up, we take Guelph takes Rowan Topp at 6'1" right shot D out of North York Rangers. It's another kid who finished the year really strong, tough to play against. Kind of went against a lot of opponents' top lines. His partner, actually, the O'Mary kid, I actually like a lot. I'm surprised he hasn't been taken yet. He's one of my favorite defensemen in the draft, but this kid, for what he is, to be a big body, physical, tough to play against type, he's very good in that role.
Yeah, you know what? I'll talk about him. He looks like a really good defenseman. And I'm going to give him credit because he has tons of potential. Again, what worries me about him is his compete level. If he makes the decision that he changes his will, then he's going to play at a really, really high level because he's an excellent skater and he has a great shot from the point and all that stuff. But for some reason, again, sometimes when they're at this age, they have to decide, do I want to be a hockey player or not? To be or not to be. And if he wants to, he can do it. It's just up to him. Nobody else can. He's got to make the decision.
Paul, what are your thoughts on Rowan?
Yeah, there's. I kind of agree with you. Like I had him behind. We had him behind. Or I had him personally behind Hutchison and O'Mary. But he's when he gets going, he gets ahead of steam when he's skating forward with the puck. He gets ahead of steam when he's running into hit guys. He can play that physical game. Early in the season, he was dynamite in the Markham tournament. And I remember an overtime game where it was 3-on-3. He had legs. He was running forward, coming back, just dominant on the ice in that particular game. So he's been on our radar all year. I say there's some potential there. He's got a good body checker.
Next up, Sarnia with the 60th pick take Carson Campbell, 6 foot right shot D out of Quinty. Murray, I know you and I really like this kid at the OMHAs. We sat one period and we're talking about him, really mobile, kind of a all-purpose defenseman. What are your thoughts on Carson's game?
Yeah, I think he's got some really good qualities. His feet are number one, which is great for the position that he plays. He's able to cover a lot of ice. Does a pretty good job gapping up and defending. I find he's got a balance. The big thing will be balancing that decision making between, high risk, high reward attempts versus anticipating the play. If he can bridge that gap a little bit and put the odds in his favor in terms of decision making, I think he can play. I think there's room for him because of his mobility and his puck movement. And he's a defenseman on that team, on a pretty deep team of defense as well, right? So I think he might get a little bit of play in a shadow a little bit of some of Danford and some of the other guys, but I think it's all upside with this player. I think this is right where this is a good pick. I think he's right where he should be on the board.
And for me, you have these every year in the draft. You have these players you want to underline and go back and see because you like them. You like him a lot more than where he went. I'm going to underline the Campbell and make sure I keep an eye on him. He, in my view, straight ahead speed. He's one of the fastest defenders in the draft. He can skate.
Yeah, he can really skate. No question there.
It's no coincidence that you've already mentioned it before, Paul, about Quinty. They were the best defensive team in all of Ontario, and it's because like all their defensemen are getting taken early.
Yep. Because
they all know what the hell they're doing,
Yeah.
and this guy here really took off from Christmas up, and he started to shine. So if he keeps trending on the upward swing, they got another good one.
Next one up, Braden Turley for North Bay with the 61st pick, 6'1" left shot D, Mississauga Senators. This is another guy that has trended up for us. He's climbed up our rankings from the beginning of the year to the middle to now. I thought he had a strong showing at the OHL Cup, especially in the championship game, kind of a shutdown type, but he's also got he's a good skater for his size. He's strong on his edges and can break the puck out. And I thought he was pretty good holding the line. A lot to like about this kid.
I saw him in a few games this year as well, where he set the tone. The Senators were high skilled, high pressure, run and gun team all year long, but Turley could come out and gap up on somebody and hit him right in the chest with a hit, and the whole bench just uplifted, right? So he did that. He did that quite a lot. He'd step up into somebody, and you just feel that team getting more and more confident. I'd like him to be a little cleaner. I saw a few games, especially against JRC, where when they got the heavy forecheck going and they took away time and space for him. He didn't have the hands that I wanted to see, but that'll come. That's all stuff that a player like this can figure out.
Yeah, huge character for this kid. He'll play hurt, whereas some of his teammates wouldn't. So let's just say he's going to be a great teammate, and if he puts the work in with his footwork, it's the only thing that's holding him back to becoming a really, really top player. And it's just a matter of finding the right. I don't know how to put it for him. He gets around, and he gets his feet kind of get tied up once in a while, and that's just practice. And it's like I talked to you before, and I'll mention it again. It's almost like you have to find a good dance instructor and just go through the 1, 2, 3s until you finally get it. It becomes. So right now it's probably conscious, and then once it becomes unconscious, then you've got one hell of a hockey player.
Next up, we've got 62. Windsor selects AJ Spilacci, the Cleveland Barons, 6'2" forward. This kid's really interesting. He's another kid that was selected to the top 44 camp for NTDP. He's a really high-end football player, so that we'll see how that comes into play here. From what I've heard, he's going to have scholarship offers to big-time football schools. I believe he's like a tight end DN, big, strong, physical, and he's super athletic. He can really skate, long strider. At NTDP camp, he started off a little bit, kind of didn't know what he was. I don't want to say lost, but he was kind of running around.
Just hold on a second.
Yeah.
For us Canadians here, NTDP
is the National Training Development Program. It's the U.S. national team. So he's trying out for the national team. And when he was with the other best kids in the country. He was a little bit lost, didn't know what he was. Then the last 2 days, he decided, I'm going to go out and be a tough guy. And he was hammering guys, played with another gear. If this kid decides to play hockey and not football, this is a mega steal. He's a top, I think we have him as a top 10 US OHL eligible prospect. Major upside with this kid if he can figure it out. Next up, Hamilton Bulldogs. This is the last pick of the 3rd round. Callum Chanowski out of the Southern Tier Admirals, 5'11" left shot D. Paul, what do you think of this kid?
Yeah, so this guy, we Murray wrote him up. Played in Southern Tier, just down near Murray, and they didn't get to a lot of tournaments. They were unwatchable at the Silver Stick, I thought, because they're just not a lot of depth there. And I was going through Murray's reports, right before we did our initial top 300 list. He said he liked them, so I went and watched them on video, and I thought, wow, this kid can play. He activates, he jumps in as much as as the coach will let him, or his legs will let him. I think the coaches will let him jump in, and he'll get back too. Good feet, can skate, competitive player, playing in a real tough program down there. They weren't a strong team, and he's actually played I think maybe 10 close to 10 games of GoJ hockey already this year, and he's contributed at that level. Murray?
Yeah, he's a real interesting player, I think. You mentioned a couple picks ago about underlining a player, and I think this guy is that guy for me out of here. You're bang on there, Hags. The team he played on, great work ethic, but we're shallow in high-end talent, especially on the offensive side. So Chanowski ended up being the driver of their offense, to be honest with you, right? Whether he was carrying the puck or he was engaging himself in plays up the ice, and he played the full length of the ice. There are times he was first on the puck in the offensive zone and the first one back to defend as well. So he incredible work ethic and impact for. I can't imagine the team's season without him, to be honest with you. But not a riverboat gambler, you know what I mean? He didn't play the game without any awareness of the score or the time or the situation of the game. He competed as you need to compete, and he took risks, and those players that make things happen tend to do that. But I always thought they're pretty calculated risk. He didn't leave his team hanging just to get one extra shot on goal. And I'll tell you, the one thing he does really, really, his shot is heavy. And I think it'll be really interesting to watch him play over the next couple of years and see how he evolves. But I thought he was the best defenseman down in this area of the teams. The two teams in Niagara, I thought he was the best defenseman of anybody.
Nice. Well, thanks, guys. We'll kick this back off tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We'll recap kind of what happened today. We'll go through some top guys that are still left on the board. Most all of our guys in the top 50 are pretty much gone, but I think there might be one or two left. And we'll recap some of that. We'll talk about some storylines, some teams that made some changes today, and as we work through the 4th round, and then we'll play catch up throughout the day. But we'll be here all day tomorrow, rounds 4 through 15. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. You got some really talented scouts here. These 3 are unbelievable. Crawford, Murray, and O'Hagan. We're so lucky. And then there's some other guys too that are helping out. So really happy to bring you this content. We're excited for tomorrow.
All right, guys.